What if I told you that in the high-stakes, ruthless world of Washington politics, a single miscalculated move by the most powerful man in the room just blew open the entire game? Not some grand legislative defeat, not a geopolitical crisis, but a self-inflicted wound so profound, so revealing, that it's poised to trigger a seismic realignment of power. Most people, the vast majority, are still missing the bigger picture. They're stuck on headlines, the surface-level outrage. But what's really unfolding behind the scenes? What's the actual plan that just got shredded? And what does it mean for you? Because what we're about to witness after Trump's response to Jeremy Carl's comments isn't just about a State Department nominee's thinking. It's about the crumbling of a carefully constructed illusion. It's about the thin veneer of control that the political class, the establishment, the narrative shapers have maintained for decades, suddenly cracking wide open. And by the time you finish this video, you won't just understand the depth of this crisis. You'll see the threads of power, the real levers, and why figures like Elon Musk, who constantly warn about the manipulation of information, understand exactly what kind of dangerous ground we're walking on. This isn't just news. This is a masterclass in how power really works and how it just failed spectacularly. Let's pull back the curtain, shall we? You've seen the headlines. Jeremy Carl, a name that just a few weeks ago meant little outside of political circles, suddenly ignited a firestorm. His comments, described as inflammatory, beyond the pale, crossing a red line, weren't just controversial. No, they were designed to poke, to provoke, to push the boundaries of acceptable discourse. That much is clear. But here's what you might not know. Carl wasn't just some rogue voice. He was a piece on a very specific chessboard, put there for a reason by a player with a very deliberate strategy. In Washington, nothing happens by accident, especially not high-profile nominations. These aren't random selections. They are carefully vetted, strategically placed operatives, each with a role, each with a message to deliver. Carl, with his particular brand of provocative rhetoric, was intended to do something. Perhaps to energize a base, perhaps to draw contrasts, perhaps to test the limits of what the establishment would tolerate. The playbook is always the same. Push, observe, adapt. But then came the response. Donald Trump, never one to shy away from controversy, stepped into the fray. And this is where the real story begins. His reaction to Carl's comments wasn't just an endorsement or defense. It was, in the eyes of the Washington establishment, something far worse. A validation, a double down, an almost defiant embrace of rhetoric that both sides of the aisle had, for different reasons, deemed unacceptable. And just like that, the trap was sprung. Not on Carl, not on his detractors, but on Trump himself. Because in the unspoken rules of Washington, there are lines. Certain comments, certain positions are simply off limits for nominees, no matter how much a president might wish it otherwise. They upset the delicate balance. They threaten the carefully constructed illusion of consensus, and Trump, in his characteristically blunt and unyielding manner, walked straight into that tripwire. He legitimized what was supposed to be illegitimate, and in doing so, he alienated everyone. For decades, this is how the game has been played. A nominee gets put forward, there's some opposition, maybe some noise, but ultimately, unless they're truly incompetent or scandal-ridden in a way that's undeniable, the party rallies. The opposition, after some performative outrage, eventually bows to the will of the executive. It's a dance, a ritual, a way of showing strength, then demonstrating bipartisan compromise. The media plays its part. They amplify certain narratives, they downplay others. They create the accepted truth of the moment. And the public, they consume it. They absorb it. They believe that this is how things must be, how the system should work. It's an almost perfect feedback loop designed to maintain stability, to preserve the existing power structures. They craft the message. They control the flow. They manufacture the consent. Think about it. How many times have we seen a nominee who seems on paper destined for failure sail through because the political will was there, because the narrative was managed, because the opposition, after huffing, puffing, ultimately fell in line? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is the observable pattern of power. This is the playbook of political engineering. It ensures predictability. It ensures control. It minimizes actual substantive debate. It makes sure real disruption is kept at bay. The goal is never to have a genuine, unfiltered conversation. The goal is to funnel the public's attention, to focus their outrage on specific, pre-approved targets, and to redirect their energy away from the actual mechanics of power. They want you arguing about the symptom, never the disease. They want you pointing fingers at individuals, never questioning the system itself. This has been the historical pattern. This has been the accepted truth. But then something different happened. Something broke. Trump's response to Carl's comments, far from clarifying the situation or placating critics, did the opposite. It fused the criticisms, it united unlikely allies. It created not just opposition, but bipartisan opposition. This isn't just about Democrats being against the Republican nominee. Oh no, that's standard. This is about Republicans joining Democrats. This is about the very people who usually fall in line, who usually defend their own, suddenly saying, no, not this, not now. And this, my friends, is the reversal. The moment the carefully orchestrated symphony of power went off key, then collapsed into dissonance. Trump's defiant posture, his seeming indifference to the traditional rules of engagement, didn't callous opponents. It energized them. It didn't solidify his base. It alienated the crucial moderate wing, the pragmatic operators, the very people who understand that certain lines simply cannot be crossed. Not if you want to govern, not if you want to win. His response backfired spectacularly. It turned a strategic chess move into a tactical blunder. It wasn't a masterstroke, it was a self-made trap. And now, the nomination, once a seemingly minor battle in a larger war, has become a symbol of institutional defiance, a symbol of bipartisan unity against what is perceived as an unacceptable breach of decorum, of standards, of the unwritten code that holds Washington together. They were forced to act. Democrats, sensing blood in the water, pounced. Republicans, particularly those looking to distance themselves from a potentially damaging narrative, found their moment of courage. They're not just rejecting Carl, they're rejecting the implications of Carl and Trump's handling of the situation. They're rejecting the idea that the rules no longer apply. They're saying, no, there are still rules, and you just broke one. And this isn't just about one nomination anymore. Oh no, this is about establishing new boundaries. This is about sending a message. Now let's zoom out. Let's talk about the real game, the meta game. Because power at its most fundamental level isn't about laws or armies or even money. Power is about controlling belief. It's about shaping what people accept as true, what they believe is possible, and what they believe is right. Think about it. If they can control the information you consume, they can control your perception of reality. If they can dictate what's acceptable to say, they can control the boundaries of thought itself. And for too long, this control has been absolute. They tell you what the issues are. They tell you who the good guys and bad guys are. They define the conversation. This is the narrative war that figures like Elon Musk constantly highlight. He's often spoken about the manipulation of information, the battle for truth in an age of unprecedented connectivity. He's called out the legacy media and the establishment for their role in shaping public opinion, often to serve particular agendas. Musk, whatever you think of him, represents a powerful counter-narrative, a voice that champions skepticism and challenges the accepted truths. He's a disruptor in the information space, much like Carl was intended to be in the political space, but with dramatically different outcomes. Musk understands that whoever controls the narrative controls the future. And what we're seeing right now with this Carl Trump debacle is the establishment fighting back. They're flexing their narrative muscle. They're drawing a line in the sand saying, you can push, but you can't break our ability to control what's deemed acceptable. But here's the critical point. Their ability to control belief is weakening. The old methods are losing their potency. The accepted truths are no longer accepted by everyone. The illusion is starting to fray, And this, my friends, is a terrifying prospect for those who rely on that control to maintain their power. When people stop believing the stories, the entire structure begins to wobble. And this brings us to the most vital, the most hopeful part of this entire messy situation, the democratic turn, the rise of skepticism. Because for too long, many of us, myself included at times, accepted the narratives. We bought into the idea that the institutions knew best, that the experts were infallible, that the news we consumed was objective truth. But a shift is happening, a profound awakening. People are waking up. They're asking the uncomfortable questions. They're challenging the conventional wisdom. They're seeing the threads of the puppet masters, the mechanics of how consent is manufactured. This bipartisan opposition to Carl, fueled by Trump's reaction, isn't just about political maneuvering. It's a symptom of a larger phenomenon, a growing distrust in the institutions themselves. When both sides, who normally can't agree on the color of the sky, suddenly unite in outrage, it signals a deeper fracture. It signals that the traditional gatekeepers are losing their grip. And this, I believe, is a powerful and necessary corrective force in our democracy. Skepticism isn't cynicism. Skepticism is the engine of discovery. It's what forces accountability. It's what demands transparency. It's what allows us to truly think for ourselves, rather than simply parroting the approved talking points. When the public refuses to swallow the narrative, when they push back against the manufactured outrage and the carefully crafted consensus, that's when true change becomes possible. That's when the system is forced to adapt, or in this case, to show its cracks. So, what are the stakes here? What does this tactical episode, this seemingly contained political squabble, truly mean on a grander scale? This isn't just about one nomination. This isn't just about Trump's political future. This is a battle for the very soul of our discourse, for the integrity of our institutions, and for the fundamental contract of trust between the governed and those who govern. If the established rules can be so easily broken and then defended in a way that alienates even one's own party, what does that say about the stability of the entire system? It signals a profound realignment, a shift in the tectonic plates of power. We are witnessing in real time a broad civilizational pivot. The old ways of manufacturing consent, of controlling the narrative, are clashing head-on with a newly awakened, deeply skeptical public. This incident is a stark reminder that words have power, that actions have consequences, and that even the most powerful figures can, through a single, ill-considered response, unravel years of carefully constructed influence. It's a sign that the ground beneath us is shifting. The institutions, those ancient, seemingly unmovable pillars of authority, are under immense pressure. They are being questioned like never before. And that, my friends, is both exhilarating and terrifying, because when the old ways crumble, what replaces them? Chaos, or a new, more transparent, more democratic future? The answer depends entirely on us, on whether we continue to be curious, to be vigilant, to demand truth. This isn't just a moment in the news cycle. This is a masterclass in the fragility of power and the awakening of a populace. It's a moment of profound significance that will echo through the halls of Washington for years to come. It's a moment that proves the narratives we're fed are often just that, narratives, stories designed to keep us complacent. But we're not complacent anymore, are we? We're not buying the illusion. We're asking the hard questions. And that in itself is a powerful, powerful thing. So, I want to hear from you. What do you see happening behind the headlines? Do you believe this is a turning point? Is this the moment where the old guard truly starts to lose its grip? Or is this just another cycle in the endless political drama? Drop your comments below. Let's keep this conversation going, because your perspective, your insights, are now more important than ever. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and never ever stop questioning the stories they tell you. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the hidden truths of power. Until next time, stay informed.